Good afternoon, I'm Sean Yao, and this is One News Now. U.S. President Donald Trump finally conceded and recognizes that Joe Biden will be the next president of the United States. This comes one day after his supporters stormed the U.S. Capitol as Congress was certifying Biden's victory. The concession was a stark reversal for Trump, who has spent months insisting without evidence that the November polls were rigged and stolen from him due to widespread fraud. Trump's remarks also arrived amid mounting pressure for Vice President Mike Pence to invoke the 25th Amendment to remove Trump from office. Meanwhile, the incumbent president condemned Wednesday's violence, saying rioters had, quote, defiled the very seat of American democracy.
Like all Americans, I am outraged by the violence, lawlessness, and mayhem. To those who engaged in the acts of violence and destruction, you do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay. Now Congress has certified the results. A new administration will be inaugurated on January 20th. My focus now turns to ensuring a smooth, orderly, and seamless transition of power.
Trump has reportedly prepared a list of individuals he's hoping to pardon in the final days of his administration. People familiar with the matter say the list includes senior White House officials, members of the presidential family, and Donald Trump himself. But can he really do this? Let's find out from Jack Fitzpatrick on Bloomberg Daybreak.
Well, when it comes to pardoning himself, that is a very, very legally questionable area, primarily because nobody has ever tried to do that. The Supreme Court has not ruled on this because they've never needed to and probably assumed for a while that they wouldn't need to. The argument, a lawyer could get way further into this, but the argument essentially boils down to, on one hand, the Constitution lets him pardon people. It doesn't say this person or that person. It's described as a very broad power. On the other hand, there's a fundamental issue of if the president can pardon himself and essentially do anything and get away with it, does that turn the Constitution into a self-contradictory document when it describes his role as the faithful execution of the law? That's the kind of fundamental question that the Supreme Court would clearly have to rule on if this became relevant. But as you mentioned, our White House team has some great reporting on at least that being what is on the president's mind at this point.
Yeah, and this question over public interest versus personal gain, which, arguably has always blurred the lines of this presidency. But, Jack, in the meantime, we're also hearing, of course, the revival of calls for another attempt to impeach the president. Of course, the exercise of the 25th Amendment still up for debate as well. How much support are we hearing in D.C. at the moment?
So when it comes to impeachment, this has pretty quickly become the mainstream Democratic stance in favor of impeachment. We don't know about timing. It was very quick that Representative Ilhan Omar offered the articles of impeachment in a resolution, but Speaker Pelosi has framed this as hoping that the administration officials will rely on the 25th Amendment, and then the impeachment, a second round of impeachment, would effectively be a backup. So they're not moving immediately on that, but the Democrats are in favor. We still haven't heard from any key Republicans who would seem to move the ball forward on either of those. People like Lindsey Graham, who did basically say the election is over, said he does not think that either of those are appropriate. So it seems to fall in line with the first round of impeachment unless something changes going forward.
And yet we are seeing people close to the president starting to abandon him, cabinet members quitting. What do we know so far?
Well, we're seeing some staff and cabinet members leave. Maybe the most notable recent one is Elaine Chao, the transportation secretary, who is married to Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The caveat there is, of course, if people are hoping that the 25th Amendment will remove the president, which requires support from the vice president and a majority of his cabinet, if you signal your opposition to the president by resigning, that would preclude you from removing him from office. So they seem to be going in a different direction and more symbolically leaving Trump. Resigning at the very end of his term doesn't make all that much of a difference, especially if it seems to preclude you from removing him from office now.
For more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on the Signal Play app. Register for a free account at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Sean Yao. We are One News.